I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I am speaking with the Emmy-nominated creators of the Netflix animated program Blue Eye Samurai, Michael Green and Amber Noizumi. The first question I wanted to ask you both is the look of that show is so distinctive, and I'm really curious to know, how did you develop the look of the animation for the show, and was there anything that inspired that look?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I mean, when we came into it, we knew we wanted to draw heavy inspiration from a lot of the Edo period art, some of the those woodblock prints that are famous from Hokusai. And when we joined forces with Jane Wu, our director, she really helped further that development. And she always knew she wanted to preserve the brushstroke that you see in those paintings and to kind of make it look like a moving painting. And so she drew a lot of inspiration from this artist Hiroshi Yoshida-san, and he's a Japanese artist but was trained in Western art, so kind of completed that Western Eastern hybrid that we have going on our show.
And where did the concept of Blue Eye Samurai come from, and how did it develop into the series that ended up airing on Netflix?
Oh, goodness. Time and conversation. Probably one of the best compliments we've gotten is people keep asking us, where did you get the rights to the books? And we have to remind them there were no books. We just thought of it. It was an idea Amber and I had been thinking of for a really long time, really just going back to when we had our first kid together. We used to call our daughter our little blue-eyed samurai, and just wrote that down and said, that's a good title. No, but we had this idea of a character who was mixed race in the Edo period, when the idea of having remotely Western features, which we might see as billboard material today, would then be really ostracized and considered monstrous. But we sat on the idea a long time, not sure quite what to do with it. And until finally the idea of doing it in adult animation came up. And we were lucky enough that this is a time when streaming services were willing to experiment with it. So we found our partners at Netflix.
Was this always something that you intended to have as something that was more adult-oriented animation, or was that something that came up later in the development?
It's a great question. It's rare to be able to say this in television development, but the show that's on the air is the exact show we imagined and pitched from the beginning. Hang on. Betty, all right. Sorry, last time. Jude, thank you. It's a good question, because this is one of the rare times in television development experience I can say the show that's on the air is pretty much exactly the show we wanted to sell, that we sold to Netflix, that we were talking about from the beginning. We went out with it with the pilot story that was on the air, with the season we wanted to tell, that it would be an hour-long adult animated drama with adult themes, adult content, and as beautiful as we could possibly make it, given our own limitations. And it is rare to be able to say that, but we got on screen exactly what we set out to do.
I think one of the other things that's so distinctive about this show is the quality of the cast that you have doing the voices for this show, which is it's an impeccable cast that you have here. And I'm curious as to, did you write these characters with who you wanted to voice them already in mind, or did you have to go on a quest to find the right people to bring these characters to life?
Well, a bit of both. I mean, we didn't have them in mind per se when we wrote them, but there was a quest to get them, and the quest ended up being kind of awesome because there was this thing called COVID that happened and nobody could work because all of the shows were shut down. So anybody we asked said yes.
It really was a lot of good fortune.
Yeah, we did it. Everything was, all the voice recording was remote. So that was a bit of a challenge, but I think that, I mean, I would like to think that all of these people would sign on to this kind of strange adult animated show that they, like they hadn't heard of anything like that. But I don't know if they would have. But I think everybody's happy that they did it.
I think they are. I mean, we definitely talked about different people while writing it. I mean, the character of Ringo, we used to play the fun game. Who's going to play Ringo that isn't Masayoka?
Right.
So we're friends with him because worked together with him on Heroes back in the day, and we've always kept up. And funny enough, we wrote the first episode while I was abroad in London shooting Death on the Nile with Kenneth Branagh. And so can't say we weren't discussing like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if when we actually get this thing picked up, if we asked him to do it and he actually said yes. And the gentleman that he is, he did. And of course, we were aware of Maya Erskine and had thought of her.
We had been watching Pen 15, and our young daughter at the time would try to sneak in, and she was intrigued by it. We wouldn't let her watch it at the time, but Maya Erskine was so amazing in Pen 15, and we were like, we know she's extremely funny. We don't know like how she would play this kind of lone cowboy, very gruff character, but you could see that amount of pain that underlies the humor in it. And I mean, now the world has seen what Maya can do, and she's up for an Emmy for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I mean, she deserves all the Emmys, actually.
Yeah. So we're with you. We were kind of floored by what we were able to put together. We have to shout out to our casting directors, Margie Simkin and Orly Sidowitz, who really helped. I mean, it was the dream cast.
I'm curious as to what aspect of that first season proved to be the most challenging in terms of developing the story for it.
Story, because if you would have said what was like, sometimes it was making the patterns on the kimono work when they moved their shoulders. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, it just feels like it all came so easy. It's kind of like when you give birth, you just remember the beautiful baby at the end and kind of forget about the
Really, I remember all the process. I mean, there was no one part harder, like it's just bit by bit. The thing about animation is it's a long process, and you're always doing some, next layer, some next level. We had a huge learning curve on just learning how animation works. But we were supported by such a strong team. They probably had a harder time with our naivete than we did. But our team was so strong. It's really hard to say that anything was really hard. It's just animation is just, it takes attention to detail, focus, and time.
I apologize that I usually look up like filmographies before I do this, but had you not worked in animation prior to this?
I neither. We come out of live action. I'd done shorts. I did little pieces of other shows, but no, we'd never produced animation television before. So that was part of the fun. It was like being on set for the first time again.
So I'm curious. What was most shocking to you, or most surprising to you both, working in animation, having come from mostly doing live action before?
Just how long it takes. And I guess just all of the detail, every little thing you write is painstakingly, developed and rendered and drawn and redrawn. And I mean, it takes so many people and passion, talent, time, all of just it's insane that these things can get made when we look at other animation to see, wow, it's a miracle that these things exist, to have so many people and everybody has to get it right.
Yeah, depth of talent on the crews, depth of passion. People in animation love what they do. I mean, look, you can go on any set and people are passionate and diligent. There's something special about the animation community, and it's been really wonderful joining that.
So your show got picked up for a second season, and I imagine that you might still be in the middle of putting that all together. But I was wondering, where do you envision things going for the series in a second season?
Can't give spoilers just yet. We can tell you
we're figuring it all out right now.
Yes, yeah. We're writing episode 4 of 6 right now, and starting to produce the first couple episodes. We've seen pre-design, and the storyboards for the first episode are coming in. So it's early days, but a lot of excitement. We're working with mostly the same team, some new faces. But we're a little too early to be in the tease cool things.
But we can assure people that their favorites will be back.
Yes.
And they will have new favorites to get to know and love, or hate, as the case may be.
Yeah. A lot of new characters, a lot of new villains. It'll be a good time.
Do you feel yourself more prepared to deal with some of the challenges that you weren't that you claim, like with your naivete with animation, that you're more prepared to deal with in this upcoming?
Not at all. I disagree.
No?
You don't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I always feel like no matter what we do, it's like, we'll figure, maybe it'll work.
No, I feel like we have a stack of warning cones that we know, like, okay, now we're not going to do this thing we did last season, and we can sort of, or
we're driving right through those warning cones every time.
Or we bring an umbrella for the inevitable storm, right? I mean, we're a little more prepared, I guess.
Yeah. But it's a really fun show to think about, to work on. It's such a great group. Like, showing up to work every day is always a good time. Even the hard parts are kind of fun.
Yeah.
So as I was saying earlier, as I introduced you, you guys are Emmy nominees this year for Best Animated Program. What was your reaction upon hearing that you got nominated for that Emmy?
I mean, we were not expecting it. We really weren't. And it was so, I mean, it was thrilling. He was at the gym, and I just, texted him like, we did it, Joe, or whatever. And I don't know, it's just been kind of a wild ride ever since, like, to have been able to kind of create this very personal story for us, and then, to write it together, to produce it, and for it to get made, because as I mentioned, it's like a miracle when all the pieces come together, and then to have people watch it and respond to it, and then to get nominated, it's like, I don't know, 10 things too many for me. I don't know.
And I'm curious as to just one other thing I'm curious about is, I feel like more people are understanding that animation isn't a genre, it's a medium. And I was just wondering if you could just speak to, the changing attitudes that people are having about it, that, you could have that a story like what you wanted to tell could be told through animation.
Yeah, well, it's one of the better compliments we get from certainly older viewers will come and say, I didn't know you could do that in animation.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to, people around my age, like, animation meant either stuff for children and brilliant stuff for children, or adult animation started with The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, and Big Mouth, those wonderful shows. But you think more comedy half hour. And now, there's a generation that is not children anymore.
Or anime.
Or anime, yeah. But people who grew up with anime, or just animation for adults, who understand, like, this is just a way to tell your story, be it features or TV. And studios get this. Studios understand that, that not everyone thinks of it as just, Disney classics anymore. Case in point, Netflix has an adult animation division that was willing to invest in this show and make it. And we are, glad to see we're not the only ones. It's that division's expanding, which is wonderful, because we love the medium and would love to keep telling stories in it.
Well, Amber and Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over the next month or so as everything just starts getting crazy. And to all of our viewers, please keep on going to goldderby.com, make your Emmy predictions in advance of the ceremony coming up in September. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.